As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week, it is two of our illustrious patent-pending podcasts rolled into one. It's not only a prestigious Patreon poll-winning episode, but it's a rare, revolutionary movie review as well, where instead of talking about a game that we played back in the day, we talk about a movie we watched back in the day based on a game that we played back in the day. And we're obviously, as you can tell from the music that played in the title of the episode and everything else like that, we are talking the Mortal Kombat movie from 1995 this week. If you don't know, things are just hella busy for me right now away from the podcast, between comedy, doing 4 of these a week, everything else that I got going on, the holidays and all that crap. So I just figured for September's Patreon poll, we would roll with a bunch of video game movies that y'all have been asking us to cover for some time, because I can watch a 2-hour movie a lot faster than I can play another 15-hour video game. So, and I hardly ever watch movies, so I take a ton of shit for missing so many. So we're crossing one off the list this week. Street Fighter from 1994, I think is when it came out, and the first Pokemon movie were the runner-ups on this poll. But Mortal Kombat from 1995 took the cake. I finally sat down and watched it a couple of weeks ago, and I posted about it that I was sitting down and watching it. And ever since I made that post, people have been messaging me and tweeting at me and Instagramming at me and whatever the fuck it is everybody does, being like, what'd you think? Did you like it? How was it? How is it? And I'm pretty excited to tell you that you're going to have to wait until after the infamous intro to find out what I think of this fucking movie. My buddy and my go-to fighting game guest, Mike the Ref, joined me this week. It's funny how some of my guests have, you know when you watch Pawn Stars and it's literally the same episode every fucking time, and it's just, I've got a buddy who's an expert in these, let me bring them down. And I feel like that's slowly what this podcast is becoming. But Mike the Ref is my go-to guest for fighting game conversations. He joined me this week, and we had a great chat about the Mortal Kombat movie, the level of cheese contained within it, and whether or not it lived up to the hype that I've been hearing about for so goddamn long. And we'll get to all that in just a minute, because speaking of so goddamn long, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your warning. Our intros are kind of long, but they're fun. And they're way less cheesy. Well, they're somewhat less cheesy than Mortal Kombat was. But seriously, though, if you do want to skip the intro, go about 30 minutes up the road, and you'll get into the Mortal Kombat talk. Listen, before I get to my plugs, I'd be remiss if I did not say thank you so much to everybody that swung by, watched, and or supported my 24-hour charity stream that just took place this past weekend. My goal was $15,000. We raised over $20,000 for the Stollery Children's Hospital here in Edmonton. One of the biggest campaigns in any Extra Life, of everyone running on it this year. We were in the top 35, I think. It was fucking absolutely incredible. So thank you to everybody that came by and broke balls and donated money and all that kind of stuff. For anyone that wants to see any of the gameplay, you can find the full 24-hour video over on Twitch right now. But I will eventually, hopefully the next week or so, hopefully be cutting up those games into short bite-sized chunks and throwing them up over on YouTube. YouTube.com/rememberthegame if you want to check any of them out. All right? Now I have to do the plugs because this is how I keep the bills on. We have merchandise. We have hoodies. We have t-shirts. We have coffee mugs. We have posters and all that kind of stuff. Rocking incredible art that was all drawn and designed by my man Joe from 4545creative.com. You can check him out over there, and you can check our merch out at rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested. It is a great way to support this little podcast of ours. And of course, if you don't do close, and I get it, I'm naked right now, you can always just support us on Patreon, because for just $2 a month, you get 2 extra shows every week. We actually have another tier. There's multiple tiers. For $5 a month, you get 3 extra shows every week. But I always just plug the $2 one. $2 a month gets you 2 shows every single week. You get exclusive access to my gaming news show, Game Patch, every Friday, where I look at all the biggest news in modern video games and throw my opinions and some profanity and stuff in there. And Expansion Pass drops every Thursday, and that's a different show every week. I do game and character rankings, console rankings. We look back at particular consoles and characters and genres and franchises. There's some comedy episodes. There's a ton of modern game reviews over there. This past week on Expansion Pass, we celebrated the 2nd birthday of the Xbox Series Everythings and the PlayStation 5 and talked about the start of this generation, where we think the future might go for this generation. And as is becoming tradition here during the intro, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass, 2 years of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series Everything. I'm sick of talking about the console shortage. We all know it's a thing. If you've been waiting 2 years to get one of these consoles, for the love of Christ, do not cave and pay a fucking reseller now. You will get one soon. Numbers are going up. You're going to get one, I promise. Let's get into the games, because I think that's the other big talking point about this generation. Quite frankly, outside of consoles that didn't work, the Panasonic 3DO, the Atari Jaguar, the Sega Saturn, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be a douche, but you know what I'm saying. The consoles that only ever had 15 or 20 games or fucking whatever. For the mainstream successful consoles, I've been a gamer since the NES, and I would argue this has been the slowest first 2 years of a generation I've ever seen, as far as big new games for these consoles. I think most people would agree with that. That's now available on our archives. And this week, for Expansion Pass 137, I'm going to drop another modern game review and look at Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope for the Nintendo Switch. I was very excited for this game. I'm happy to say it lived up to my expectations. So if you're on the fence, not sure if it's worth it or not, maybe I can convince you to pull the trigger this week. And if you don't know, we have a ton of modern game reviews in the Expansion Pass archives. There's so many. There's got to be 30 or 40 now. They're all spoiler-free, as this one will be, so you're safe if you want to go in there and listen to them. God of War Ragnarok and Sonic Frontiers will both be getting review episodes in the coming month or so as well, as soon as I've done them. So again, $2. Get you 2 extra shows every week, instant access to over 250 archived podcasts, plus access to our ever-growing Remember the Game Discord, the chance to vote in our Patreon poll at the end of every month, the ability to submit comments to be read on all of our podcasts. You can DM with me, and I actually check them. Unlike Twitter and Instagram that are just full of goddamn spam, and I'm sorry to anyone that messages me on there and they get lost. And you get a shout-out right here in the intro and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to our newest patrons. There's a lot of them this week. Pee-wee Sweeters. That's a weird, I like that name though. Sean Holder, Daniel Dombrowski, John Baker, Nordak, Louis David Prévost. I hope I said that right. Just Mike Plays, Nolan Carlson, Soggy Unagi, Crash Override, Daniel Laval. I think I said that right. The Stone Shooter, Shorzy, Ben Kuzchiak. I'm bad at this. Petey Butter Nubs, Sounds delicious and weird. Justin Combustion, John Hadaway, Max Ping, Mikey, Jared Birick, Beers of War, MS45, Jeffrey Hughes, Vinny Bag of Donuts, Slurm McDuff, Gary Olsen, Jean-Francois Misson, I hope I didn't butcher that. Plated Shrimp, Benjamin, Dylan Trader, Mike Borgatti, Considered Dead, Delta Squad 2K, Mayor McCheese, Just May Fire, Hear Him Make 6928, Joshua Vereb, Sean Blair, Mikey Hennedy, Brian Kozlowski, Ryan Moore, and Jeremy Cologne. I hope I didn't butcher too many of those names. Thank you all so much. Welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/Remember the Game. And don't forget, you can find me on Twitch whenever I feel like sitting on there, twitch.tv/Remember the Game. And I also have Let's Plays and stuff at youtube.com/Remember the Game if you want to check those out as well. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Blaine the Hoagie Man, who wrote in and said, I know you have varying opinions on Yoshi, so I'll ask you this. What would you change about Yoshi to make him the coolest character in your mind? How would you make him more badass? And no, you can't just get rid of him. Much love from the man who eats all the hoagies. You know what? So for the record, I don't hate Yoshi as much as I let on. It's just me like, I actually kind of like Yoshi, and it's just me trying to be that big rough guy who's like, I don't like that guy. You know, like that the old grumpy old like janitor with the heart of gold. That's what I am when it comes to Yoshi. But if I was gonna make Yoshi more likable, you know what I was thinking about this? You know what I would do? I would make Yoshi like Poochie from The Simpsons. I give him shades and nunchucks and a surfboard, and he would just rap all the time, and he'd be so much cooler until Nintendo eventually killed him off and sent him back to his home planet. But that's what I would do to make Yoshi good. I'm just Cyan. I hope I said that right. Cyan wrote in and said, just wanted to let all the hot dogs know, first time dad here to a beautiful baby girl born on November 9th. Fucking A. Congratulations, Cyan, to you and the mom. I hope everybody and your baby Cyan is all doing well. Also, I'd like to shout out Max Ping Mikey. I'm glad you're recovering, my dude. Hope you are feeling okay. Lord Finish wrote in and said, here's a stupid question for you. If you were cursed so that you would die if the character in the game you're playing dies, what game would you choose? To put it simply, what game can you finish without dying? And you can't cheat and say sports games. Good, because I rarely win at sports games, so I wouldn't win that anyway. You know, I had to think about this. If my life was on the line and I had to beat a video game without dying, I think I would go with The Little Mermaid on the NES. And mock me if you must. I haven't played that game since I was a kid, but I remember renting that game and beating it without dying on my very first playthrough. I'm positive I did that. I was a little kid. So I'm going to go with The Little Mermaid and take my fucking chances. That will be the one, I think. Just trying to think of this. No, I'll go with that. I suck at so many video games. I'll go with The Little Mermaid. Tree Trebuzio wrote in and said, Adam, nothing to do with video games. I just had to tell you how impressed I was that you got my name right. And I'm so sure I just fucked that name up. No one ever does. And for someone who claims they mess up everyone's name, you did a brilliant job. Loving all the Patreon podcasts. Best $2 I ever spent. Thank you for all your hard work creating these great shows. My husband and I love listening together and laughing at the fond and not so fond memories of gaming in our youth. I like reading that because it's so rare that I actually get somebody's name right that it's nice. And I'm sure I just fucked it up, T. And if I did, I apologize. But at least I got it right once. You can take that to the bank. Take it to the bank. Benzil909 wrote in and said, hey, Adam, I turned 45 recently, and I've been a gamer since the 80s. Growing up, games were all about the best graphics and action. My taste in games has evolved lately. I'm more into story and narrative-driven games now, such as Detroit Become Human, Gris, and The Wanderer, Frankenstein's Creature. I also don't care much about graphics anymore. As long as a game is good, graphics don't matter. I love the old-school pixel art like you do. Have your tastes in game evolved over the years, or you pretty much stayed the same? Keep up the good work, brother. Thanks, Benzil. I don't know if I would say my tastes in games have changed as I've gotten older. I will say this podcast has introduced me to some games that I fucking love that I never would have played if I hadn't started this podcast. I actually, I've tried some racing games that I've really enjoyed. I've tried some RPGs that I've really enjoyed. There's been, I can't even imagine. There's got to be 30, 40 games over the last 4.5 years that I've started for this podcast that I never would have played otherwise. So I don't know if my gaming tastes have changed, but this podcast has expanded my horizons and made me try new things. I also agree 100%. I've never cared about graphics. I've said that before. I just want to make sure I say that again. Listen, nice graphics are great, and if a game looks nice, that's a bonus. But give me a game that looks fucking like an NES game, but that plays well, over like a cinematic, perfect, I can't tell if this is real life or not game that plays like a bag of shit every single time. Every time. So graphics have never mattered to me. I just want the game to be fun. And I will say too, playing a lot of modern games, like I'm playing God of War, Ragnarok, and Sonic Frontiers right now, and I have opinions. I'll save those for those episodes. But like over the weekend for my 24-hour stream, I played like Mega Man, Mario Brothers, Sonic. I played some old school games, and I was like, dude, there's just something about like Link to the Past I played some of, and I was like, there's just something about there's something about them. There's something about old school games where the graphics weren't the focal point. They're special, man. They're fucking special. So yeah, I hope that answers your question in a very roundabout way, Benzeal. The Big Deal wrote in and said, given your love for the Switch's handheld capabilities, what are your thoughts on retro gaming handhelds? I own a Retroid Pocket myself, and it's a pretty powerful device that supports emulation for everything up to the 5th generation of consoles and some 6th generation. It even plays well with 2 very hard to emulate systems, the Dreamcast and, dare I say it, the Sega Saturn. I have a buddy, he's a comedian, and he's got one of those handheld. I don't know what brand it is, but he's got this little handheld thing. It kind of looks like a Game Boy Advance. It's just full of like NES, SNES, and Genesis games, and it's fucking rad as shit. I love looking at that thing. I've never used or owned one myself. In case you're newer to the show, my stance on emulation is I have no major problem with it, but if it's a game that I can buy from the rights holder, I usually will go out of my way to buy it. If the only way for me to play it is to go to the flea market, and fucking give some greasy reseller $300 for a cartridge, I have no beef with emulating that. And truth be told, I don't have a lot of problem with people emulating old games to begin with. I think if you're emulating Switch games or PS4 games or something right now, you're a piece of shit and you're what's wrong with this hobby. But if you're emulating old games that aren't readily available anymore, I have no problem with that at all. So I've never used one. People have asked me before if I'd consider getting one. I don't know. I like to stream a lot of my retro games, and I can't do that off of one of those. And before you say the Steam Deck, I know they're just very expensive, and I don't know how bad I want one. I will get one eventually. But that's why most of my gaming, my old gaming, I either do on my Switch, my Xbox, my PS5, or I do it on my classic consoles. Just because I can hook them up and stream them, no problem. So, but no, I don't have a problem with it. I think they're pretty cool little devices. I would have blown my fucking mind when I was a kid, that's for sure. So thank you for writing in, Big Deal. And finally, it's letter time. Ryan Groinus wrote in and said, hi, Adam. I want to give recognition and show my appreciation for the developers at Santa Monica for the level of depth and the accessibility options of God of War Ragnarok. I have PTSD. One of my symptoms is trembling hands. Most of the time it's mild, but sometimes they'll shake uncontrollably. This makes the precision minigames developers use almost impossible for me. There are games I haven't been able to finish because I can't get past a lock-picking or hot wiring minigame. Santa Monica gave me the option to change from a precision minigame to a button sequence game. Most people don't think about these kinds of problems, but Santa Monica did, and I hope I can use your podcast to get some praise for them out there. Thank you. I think that is fucking awesome. And I think let's be honest, like a majority of games aren't doing this kind of stuff yet. I'm sure it's very expensive and not every game developer can afford to put the amount of time into the accessibility, customization, and stuff like that. But I like seeing more of the big companies doing that. Seeing Santa Monica do that with God of War, seeing Naughty Dog doing that with The Last of Us. I like seeing games being made more accessible to people. Somebody close to me is going through something right now where they're unable to play as many video games as they used to play too. And it's rad to see more and more customization options coming in because the gaming should be for everybody. Right. And I agree with you, Ryan. I'm fortunate that, minus my fucking piece of shit eye, in case you don't know, I'm almost blind in one eye. But outside of my wonky eye, like I'm still in pretty good shape. Other than I just suck at video games. So I've never really had to think about it, but to hear from people that do have some disability issues and some inabilities to play certain games and to see them being worked around with more and more accessibility and customization options, I just think that's the fucking bee's knees. So I'm happy to hear that, Ryan. And yeah, shout out to developers like Santa Monica for making their big games accessible to as many people as possible. And I know that kind of just sounds like a, fucking... what's the stupid Sesame Street? I was like Streets of Rage, Disney Street. What the fuck is that show? I know maybe that kind of sounds like a Sesame Street, like games are for everybody, but games are for fucking everybody. So fuck you. It's awesome. And I'm glad that more people are playing them. Fuck yeah, Ryan. And I hope you're enjoying God of War Ragnarok because it is pretty fucking spectacular. And that's going to do it for blowing in the cartridge this week. Thank you, as always, for all the submissions, everybody. Mucho apreciado. Let's change things up and let's get into a varied version of our Smash Hits segment. Watch one, remake one, erase one. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week, most weeks I give our listeners 3 retro video games. This week, I'm giving our listeners 3 retro movies based on 3 retro video games. They can watch one as it was released. They can refilm one as a modern movie. And the third movie is erased from time forever. And as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. We'll get to what it is in just a second. And this week, I decided to go with 3 classic fighting-esque game movies. We have Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Street Fighter, and Double Dragon. And there was a 1-point difference. I think this was the closest vote we've ever had between the winner and the runner-up. And unfortunately, Double Dragon was erased in both of them. 28% said watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation and remake Street Fighter. 27% said watch Street Fighter, remake Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And then you all said erase Double Dragon. So let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what I think the right answer is. Pass the Couch. I like that name. Wrote in and said, watch Street Fighter because Raul Julia steals every scene he's in, and I can't imagine it without his performance. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not sure who that. I'm going to Google it right now. I never do this well on podcasting. I want to see. I have not seen any of these movies, for the record. I've never seen any movies. Raul Julia. I don't recognize this guy from anything. What will I have seen that this guy is fucking in? Filmography. Where is his filmography? Oh, he's passed away. Oh, damn. Oh, dude, he was Gomez in the Addams Family. Yeah. All right. I know who that is. Oh, I gotcha. All right. Well, okay. All right. Let me get back to your answer here. Fair enough. Because Raul Julia steals every scene that he's in. Remake Mortal Kombat Annihilation because I had such high hopes as a kid and I'd love to have the expectations I had met. That unfortunately leaves Double Dragon on the chopping block. It just doesn't have the same level of nostalgia for me as the other 2. Sound logic all around. Past the couch. No double secret probation needed here. Nakamurda wrote in and said, watch Street Fighter because it's a great example of a movie that's so bad that it's good. Remake Double Dragon because with the right people involved, it could be a killer movie. And erase Annihilation because it stinks, stunks, and the new Mortal Kombat movie from a couple years ago ruled. Dude, I really want to watch Annihilation now, and I'm fucking nervous about it, seeing so many people say that it sucks. Fuck. He read card good. Listen to this. He read card good wrote in. I'm going to erase them all, but before you even fucking think about putting me on double secret probation, hear me out. I can't bring myself to purposely erase any of these because they're all so awful, they full circle themselves unknowingly into somehow great movies. They're all kind of like a fart. They stink, but you can't help but smell and secretly like it. I've never smelled and liked a fart. Even my own. That being said, I would watch Double Dragon because for me, it's where it all began. I'd remake Street Fighter because let's be honest, there's absolutely no way they can make it any worse. But then I'd erase Mortal Kombat Annihilation because there's enough Mortal Kombat movie content to enjoy and or mock. But by doing so, a crack in the nexus of time between the Earth realm and outer world forms and creates a rift in the space-time continuum, erasing all of existence, thus also erasing all 3 of these titles in the process so you and your double secret probation can go fuck yourselves. I have no idea if that is the smartest or the dumbest comment I have ever read on Play One, Remake One, Erase One. And I mean that sincerely because I've read it like 4 times and I can't figure out if I'm missing something and that completely makes sense or if you just randomly threw a bunch of big words in there to fuck with me and try to get yourself off double secret probation. But it worked. Well played. He read card good. Well fucking played. I still have no idea what you're saying though. And Max Ping Mikey wrote in and said, first time player for this week. For real. I love that people have to say that. For real. I'm not... because anyway, I've been in the streams on Twitch, but I finally got caught up on the Remember the Game backlog. I'm proud to be an official hot dog. Well, thank you, Max Ping. I would watch Mortal Kombat. The music is still sick, and I used to watch this movie with my brothers growing up. I'd remake Double Dragon because I love the games, but the movie was lackluster and left something to be desired. And I would erase Street Fighter. I love the games, but the movie was abysmal and left a lot to be desired. Also, if we erase this movie, we won't get the live-action video game based off this movie that was based off the game. Is that a thing? There's a Mortal Kombat, the movie, the game, based on the game? fucking Mortal. Or wait, Street Fighter, pardon me. Ah, fuck, that's sick. I'm actually going with the slim majority of you this week, 28%. I'm agreeing with you, including Pee Wee Squitters, who wrote in and said, I will watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation because I watched it as a kid when it first came out and thought it was incredible. I got that nostalgia shield with that one. I'll remake Street Fighter so I can see them create Blanca and New Age CGI and erase Double Dragon because I never watched it in the first place. I wouldn't go necessarily with the same reasoning, but I would go with the same order. I'm going to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation because I have to now. After watching the first one, I got to see what's so horrible about the second one. So I will watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I'm going to remake Street Fighter just because I think it would make a cooler movie than Double Dragon, and I also agree to see Blanca with New Age CGI would be fucking sick. And I'm going to erase Double Dragon because The Wizard has Double Dragon in it, and The Wizard is better than any of these movies anyways. So that's, and if you don't know, now you know. There's an episode about The Wizard in the archives in case you're interested. Long live The Wizard. I love that stupid movie. Thank you, everyone that played along this week. As always, what have I been playing over the last week? I'll tell you, and then we'll get into talking about the Mortal Kombat movie. Obviously, I did the 24-hour stream, and again, those will all be up on YouTube soon. I played a ton of retro shit over there. Quick shout out to WCW NWO Revenge. I played lots of stuff on the 24-hour stream, but I did fire up WCW NWO Revenge for the first time since I was probably 15 or 16 years old, and it still holds up. It was awesome. I had so much fun. It was one of the highlights of the stream for me, was playing WCW NWO Revenge. I got to track down a copy of No Mercy now because oh my God, it held up so well. So anyway, yeah. Outside of that stream though, I've basically been playing 3 games. I've been playing Sonic Frontiers, which I have mixed opinions on, but you'll hear about those when I do a review in a few weeks. I've been playing God of War Ragnarok, which I think is stunning. And I've been playing Alundra on the PS1. I've been playing it on my PS3, but for the PS1 for an upcoming episode of the show. I'm really enjoying it. It's a cute little game. It's kind of what I wish Ocarina of Time had been. But I'm not that far in yet. And dude, fuck me. First time this has happened to me in a long time because I insist on playing it on the original, I bought it off the PSN and I'm playing the PS1 version of my PS3. I don't have save states. And I ran into the classic situation a few days ago where I lost a bunch of progress because I died and hadn't saved in like an hour. And I was just like, I fucking raged so bad. And I was like, wow, fuck this game. But I'm going to go back. But man, we don't realize how spoiled we are with the goddamn checkpoints every 8 seconds that we deal with now. Holy fuck. But yeah, and then I played a little bit more. I finished Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which I'll be reviewing on Expansion Pass tomorrow. All right, that's it. Let's talk the Mortal Kombat movie. That's why you kids are here. As always, I like to give my listeners a chance to sound off about whatever we're talking about before my guest and I hog the microphone. Zach Fazio wrote in and said, I remember losing my shit as a kid when I saw the TV spot for this. You could have wrapped a giant dog shit in a ninja outfit and I would have loved it. Seeing Scorpion and Sub-Zero on the big screen was amazing to a little gamer turd like myself. That's 3 poop references in 3 sentences, Zach. You're almost at your quota for the year, and we still have like 6 weeks to go. I will agree, though. Seeing Scorpion and Sub-Zero was one of the highlights of the movie for me as well. Mike Dobson wrote in and said, this movie was fucking epic. Casting was great. Characters were spot on. Plot was razor thin, but it was a cheesy good time. If this had the proper rated R treatment, it would have been the best movie of the series. Definitely better than the hot piece of trash that was the sequel, Annihilation. What a fucking dumpster fire. I gotta watch this movie now. Gotta see what all the hubbub is about with this movie. Normal Normie wrote in and said, watching Christopher Lambert as Raiden was pure 90s guilty pleasure. His line of, I don't think so, with the Raiden's lightning effect is a callback to Connor McLeod and Highlander, and it fits both roles perfectly. I don't get that reference. Also, Johnny Cage calling the stunt doubles amateurs on his movie set is ironic considering how bad his fight scenes are off camera. It stands in contrast to Liu Kang's performance, however, making those scenes seem better than they really were. And Kano should have won Heel of the Year 1995 if there were such a thing. I love Johnny Cage. That's the biggest thing I have to talk about in this fucking movie because he is my favorite character, but oh, fuck me. A couple more comments and we'll get into this. Rotby wrote in and said, Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite series of all time. I've bought every entry except the original and 10 on day one. I've obsessively played it for more hours than anybody should unabashedly admit. And even I can tell you that this movie is often viewed with rose-colored glasses. It's decent at best, but it looks like Citizen Kane compared to other Mortal Kombat and video game movies. Would you guys agree with that? I'm curious. I haven't seen any other fighting game movies at all, so I can't speak to it, but I've never seen Citizen Kane either. So this is why I don't review a lot of movies, because I don't know anything about movies and I just look like more of an idiot than normal. Just Mike Plays. He's going to have the final comment, and all Mike said was, get over here, which is what Mortal Kombat is all the fuck about, right? Let's talk about it. I'm going to have my guest, Mike the Ref, I fucked this. I was all excited, then I fucked it up. My guest, Mike the Ref, is going to join me in just a moment. We are going to cue up some Mortal Kombat music. Mortal music is what we should be calling it. And when it stops, Mike the Ref and I are going to take another look back at the original Mortal Kombat movie, which hit theaters on August 18th of 1995. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/RememberTheGame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/RememberTheGame. Okay, I don't know if I can say that this is an anticipated episode or not, but ever since this stupid movie won this stupid video game movie poll, I have been getting asked, what do you think of Mortal Kombat? And the time has finally come. I have a lot to say about this, as does my guest. Joining me via the blank phone this week is a good buddy of mine, the go-to nerd when it comes to fighting games, and by association, I guess, fighting game movies. It's my buddy Mike the Ref. How's it hanging, man?
I got to tell you, Adam, I am absolutely dead nervous right now because I saw one post you put up on Instagram and Twitter about just showing you watching this movie, and the list of comments that came out over it. That's a lot of pressure I got to live up to here.
Dude, it's fucking... So for those of you, quickly, I might have explained this. In case you don't know, we record these parts of the podcast before I do the intro. We're recording this a week before I do the intro, so maybe I'll have mentioned this, but quickly, normally for our Patreon poll, our patrons get to pick a game that I haven't played to review on the show, but I'll just be completely transparent with everybody. I am running right now this time of year with comedy and everything, and I just don't have time to tack another fucking 20-hour game onto my backlog, so I thought... I always get asked to review video game movies. Let's just throw a bunch of video game movies on there. I can bang one out in 2 hours, and then it saved me some time. I give an episode everybody wants. And that poll very quickly came down to this movie, and I think the first Pokemon was the runner-up, which we'll probably do at some point. I had no idea what to expect coming into this movie, and I sat down and watched this, and... I need a moment to collect my thoughts before I tell the world what I think. So, Mike, I'll ask you, as a much bigger fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise and everything, what do you think of this movie? Is this a good movie?
All right. Well, right off the bat, I have to say this. I watched it twice getting ready for this episode. The first one was actually on VHS because I actually do have a copy of this movie on VHS as well as the DVD re-release that they did right before Mortal Kombat 9 in 2011. I have to say, this lining up for me is one of my two favorite movies based on video games, anime, whatnot. Growing up as a kid, it was between this and the Transformers movie from 1986.
Okay.
If you're going into... one thing you got to expect in a kind of movie like this is cheese. and I think we found a little bit of cheese in this movie.
Oh, a little bit, sir. I'm still not gonna say what I think of it, but like this movie is a fucking plate of nachos cheese. It is fucking cheesy to the max, my friend. The max.
Well, I have to say this. I was a little confused about it with 15-year-old me about why it was so cheesy. Now at 44, sorry, I can't remember my own age. At 44 years old, I can understand why they have the cheese now, because there was actual fights going into this movie with the production company about keeping this at a PG rating so they can keep their audience.
Ah, you can't have Mortal Kombat at PG. Fuck right off.
But the thing is, most of the people that are watching Mortal Kombat, playing Mortal Kombat, are kids.
That's true. I guess that's true.
And if you're gonna, you got to cater to your kids here. And basically, let's just face it, R-rated at 2022 is a little different than R-rated in 1995.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Apparently, one of the rules, I was doing a little wiki searching. By the way, folks, this might be a little facty, a little bit more than the typical podcast. I apologize ahead of time. But one of the things they said is they cannot have a human death on screen. You can do a death of a creature, but you can't do a death of a human on screen to keep it at PG.
Oh. Wait, so does that mean, like, in theory, like, you couldn't electrocute somebody and, like, have them die by being struck by lightning and still leave it at PG-13? Like, is that considered?
You could have them struck by lightning. You got to have them hit the ground off camera, and then they come down, they're lying, they're dead.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Fucking rules. All right. Okay.
Well, I don't. By the way, spoilers because we're 25 years after its release.
I think I'm the last person to see this movie. We can spoil it.
Here's an example for you. The final scene with Liu Kang and Shang Tsung. After Liu Kang shoots that fireball out of nowhere into Shang Tsung's chest, and he goes flying off that wall into those spikes, you actually don't get to see him go through the spikes. You get to see him land on the ground with his head, and then he just morphs into that skeleton and dies.
Oh.
So it's creative editing like that helps out this movie with the gore, but still keeps it in a PG setting kind of thing.
Okay. Now, because all right. I'm going to just put it out there. I like this movie. All right. In case anyone's like waiting and they're like, did he actually? I did. I thoroughly enjoyed myself watching this. Keeping in mind, I don't know that much about Mortal Kombat or anything like that. I enjoyed watching this movie. To me, where the cheese came from in this movie was like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful because I can't act either, but like the acting in this movie is horrifically bad. And outside of that, I didn't think it was that cheesy. I thought some of the special effects were cool. I popped when Scorpion did his "get over here" and stuff like that. Like, I was on board. I liked the fight scenes. I didn't even hate the story. But Johnny Cage is not my main. Like, when I play, in the odd time I play Mortal Kombat, I like Melina. But Johnny Cage is so far and away my favorite character in the Mortal Kombat universe because he's just that arrogant, piece of shit, whatever. And when they introduced him to start the movie, I was like, fuck yeah, my boy Johnny Cage. Dude, for a guy who plays an actor, he can't act to save his fucking life. And don't come at me, anybody listening to this, with like, oh, well, that's so-and-so who was in this movie or this. I don't know anything about movies. I don't know anything about actors or actresses. I don't know who's in what. All I'm saying is that guy was fucking awful, as was Sonya Blade. They were both horrific. Considering they were two of the main characters, the writing, the special effects, I was fine with all of it. Neither one, I could have acted better than they fucking acted. It pissed me off.
All right, Adam, I want to play a game with you right now. We're introducing a game show in here right now.
Terrible. Go ahead.
Our game's going to be, can you guess the actor that was originally offered the part? I got two names for you. First of all, who got offered the position of Sonya Blade? Take a wild guess.
I actually...
Brigitte Nielsen actually the second person offered.
I think it was Diaz. I think I remember that from the 90s. It was Cameron Diaz.
Absolutely, it was Cameron Diaz, but
that I knew.
It wasn't that she declined it. She broke her wrist right before filming.
Oh, it would have made it so much better because whoever played her in that movie can't act. Fucking terrible. It was like soap opera acting. It was awful.
You want to talk about somebody who isn't filled in for the role? Here's the other one. Who do you think was originally offered the position of Raiden, the Thunder God?
Which? Oh, Raiden. I don't know. Who was it? Was it the guy from? Was the actual actor in the movie the guy that played the bad guy in Ghostbusters 2? Vigo? That's what it looked like. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know anything about acting. I don't know anything.
Sean freaking Connery was offered that role first.
That would have been so sick. That would have made it so much better.
But it's funny because Raiden's supposed to be an Asian god.
Yeah.
I don't think Sean Connery is exactly the best role for that.
No, it would have made it so much better though. Like, you're gonna have to defend your planet. Like, it would have been so much sicker than whoever the fuck played him. Like, what a like, dude, if it just had people that could act, I would have been like, this movie was fucking spectacular. But the acting was like, I swear to God, it was like every line in this movie, it was like they were going through rehearsals. And then they were like, good enough. We'll keep that one. It was terrible. Raiden sucked. Johnny Cage sucked. Fucking Sonya Blade sucked. The only people that were good were fucking Scorpion and Reptile because they didn't say anything.
Well, my biggest beef with I did enjoy this movie as well, first of all. But I do have to say my biggest beef with this movie was the fact that when you're at Mortal Kombat, what are you expecting more than anything?
Like gore.
You want to see some horrific battles, right? Yeah. Well, the first real fight in the movie, 37 freaking minutes in.
Yeah, and that's just when they fought on the beach, right?
No,
like with the bows?
They were down in Shang Tsung's little palace there where Kano and Goro were eating.
Oh, right. And they were like spying on him.
In.
Yeah.
I don't count those little fights that they had earlier. That was just one move and done.
I almost quit. If I hadn't been watching it for the podcast, that first fight where, who's the fucking, is it Liu Kang? That's the main character, the guy who's like trying to avenge his brother, Kang, Liu Kang.
Liu
Kang. He like fights some dude on like a beach, like in a circle with like two bow staffs, and they fought, and that was it. And I was like, dude, if all the fights are this, fuck this movie so hard. But then eventually the fights start to get so stupid that it makes them good. But you're right, yeah. Like, so that first fight where like Liu Kang and Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade are like Power Rangering it up in the basement, fighting all those like footies or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah. The worst part about it is as you're going through this, like you're getting the description. The first half hour is about getting the characters developed and loosely developed. Sorry,
loosely.
I forgot. There's one more position that they had here that was supposed to be a cameo. You remember that Johnny Cage was yelling at a director after the guy wouldn't fall down in the little stage effect at the beginning of the movie?
Yes, I do.
Stage fight at the beginning.
Yeah.
Then he was yelling at the director. That was supposed to be Steven Spielberg.
I thought it was.
It was a very good lookalike, but it was.
I thought it was.
I had to take a double take too because after I took a look at it, I'm like, "Wait, is it? No. Oh, okay. No, wasn't. Shouldn't have been."
Even that. Sorry. Going just on that scene. That was the moment where I realized this movie was going to be so stupid. And again, I like this movie. When I say stupid, take it as a term of endearment. I like this movie. But that first scene where Johnny Cage is fighting those 4 or 5 like guards or whatever, and like the fight looks so crappy. And then he goes, "That's what you're supposed to fall down," or whatever. And it was like, I was just like, I hope the whole movie isn't this cheesy. And it was. That was just the beginning of the cheese. And fuck, it was so bad. It was so bad that it was good. So bad that it was good.
It's funny because when it comes to movies like this, I just like to turn my brain off. And
yes. Yeah.
I really needed to do that for this movie.
Yeah, I picked the
I
wrong
will
time
say-
to stop smoking pot right before I watched this movie. Like I should have just got fried and then put this on. I would have enjoyed it so much more. I still liked it, but sorry, go ahead.
I would say my only other criticism of the movie is during these fight scenes, literally one person to win, you'd have maybe a second, and then all of a sudden you're in the second fight, and then you're in the third fight, and then the fourth fight. Give a second to breathe or something so it comes down so you can build back up again.
Yeah, I could get on board with that. I thought the fight, my favorite fight in the movie is when Johnny Cage fights, I think it's Scorpion.
Yeah, Scorpion, and then they go to hell?
Yes, when they're fighting in hell, and Johnny Cage does this fucking stupid thing where he like jumps, grabs this like bar above him, flips over on top of it, and then he's like, and it was just like nobody can do that. Like Scorpion has superpowers and he can't fucking do that. But it was just, I think Scorpion, like, is Scorpion, I would argue that Scorpion is the most iconic Mortal Kombat character ever. I would argue that.
Oh, absolutely. And if you didn't know, the actual voicing of Scorpion in this movie and in every game that he has been involved in is actually the creator of Mortal Kombat, Ed Boon.
That's awesome. And that, okay, that, I like that. Because I thought
there was actually, I don't want to jump movies here, but the 2021 version, when someone said that he was not going to be doing the line, "Get over here," there was pretty much a pitchforking thing ready to be done just because Ed Boon wasn't involved in saying that.
As there should have been. Like, I can live with Chris Pratt as Mario, but I want the Scorpion voice. So, yeah, that's ridiculous. That was my favorite fight in the movie just because it's my favorite character fighting, like, the most iconic character. But then there's also, like, this stupid part of that fight where fucking Scorpion takes off his mask and then his face is like a skeleton. And then he goes to like breathe fire or something, and Johnny Cage just happens to be kneeling near a shield that picks up that's completely fireproof and
Well,
stupid movie.
That pays homage to his actual fatality in the original Mortal Kombat game.
Right.
Because when you're doing the fatality for him, you rip his head off, he shoots a fireball at your legs, and you burn it to coat.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you that. So the only... Now, my Mortal Kombat knowledge is very minimal. The only nods to the games that I caught were "Get over here," like the classic line, and then when Johnny Cage does the splits and punches the big guy in the nuts, which I knew of and loved that. But like, are there a lot of like? Did they do a good job? I'll ask you as someone that knows Mortal Kombat. Did they do a good job repping these characters outside of the acting, which is fucking terrible, but. Like, did they do that well?
I would have to say that for the most part, it was like the main characters, they were pretty much developed the way that you would expect. The Katana was actually played up as the defiant daughter of Shao Kahn, which makes sense.
Right.
The one thing that got me is Scorpion and Sub-Zero. They are mortal enemies against each other. And they literally said one line in it to explain it, that these two are under my control.
Yeah.
From what the story in MK1 was, they both got paid so that they would be able to face. Sub-Zero was paid to kill Shao Kahn and kill Shang Tsung in the tournament, while Scorpion was paid to be there. If he won the tournament, he got a chance to go after Sub-Zero.
Oh, okay. Because I would have loved to have seen them square off at one point during the movie. Like, that would have been sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that was the other thing. When those two showed up, I was so mad that Reptile wasn't there. But then he shows up later, and I like, fuck. They're so rad.
Reptile has never actually been a reptile before.
Right.
Or at least that kind of reptile.
Okay.
Everything about going into Outworld, that last 20 minutes of the movie, that was completely off the board because MK2 was not developed before this game was sent out, I do believe.
Okay.
Or MK2 was just starting to be in development. There was no mention of Outworld itself other than saying Outworld in anything in Mortal Kombat 1. So
okay. Well, like, I mean, at the same time, like, I as much as it sucks, I have a soft spot for the Mario Brothers movie that came out in the 90s. And I would argue that, like, creative license isn't even the term for how fucking wild they went with that movie. So, like,
absolutely.
Even knowing nothing about Mortal Kombat, I was like, all right, well, they got some regular people. They got these weird creatures. They're all going to fight in this tournament called Mortal Kombat. I was like, at least they kind of stayed loyal to the source material. I can get on board with that. At least they tried.
It was somewhat decent compared to the storyline. It made a story that made sense.
Yeah.
You don't. The funny thing is, when you're dealing with a fighting game movie, you don't need to over dramatize everything. Just focus on what you have here, and that's fighting.
Yeah, people just want to see the fights. Yeah, exactly.
So that's what makes it frustrating to deal with the first half hour of the movie.
Yeah, you're right. Because you're right. Like, even when you said it, like, fucking 10 minutes ago, like, you're right. I knew that it was a long time until the fight started. But now that I'm thinking about it, yeah. I was, like, eating a pizza while I was watching it, and I was like, so when do they fight? But then once it starts, you're right. It's almost... And then once it starts, it's almost like it goes 0 to 60, and then it's just nothing but fights. Like, there's no breaks in between it all.
If you want overemphasized drama in a movie, go check out Street Fighter the movie. That's a whole different other ball of wax there.
I don't know if I want to. More people voted for this than that one.
I'm very disappointed because I really wanted to see you suffer on that one.
Okay, so I've already established, because I want to ask you, like, I've established I really like Johnny Cage. He's the fucking best. And then seeing the 3 mutants was cool. I was hoping Melina would show up once they introduced Katana, but I can live without her. That's fine. Who do you like? Like, who do you like? Like, who's your favorite character in this movie?
But to me, watching this movie, there's no one character that really stands out for me. It's more how the interactions work so well and some of the lines that they were giving up. By the way, you talk about cheesy acting. These guys were encouraged to actually do some ad-libbing out there. Like, one of the most famous lines in the movie actually was ad-libbed when Johnny Cage is about to take care of Goro after Goro smashed his sunglasses.
Yeah.
He turns to Goro and says, "Those are $500 glasses, asshole."
Yeah. That's a great line.
It's just everybody has their role. They fill it properly. It's very cheesily done, but it's still. I like movies that just make sense. Like, nobody really has to stand out to be a top character.
Agreed. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say quickly, when you brought up that fight between Johnny Cage and the four-arm guy, Goro, I was really, that disappointed me, because, like, they hype up that Goro's going to fucking ruin everybody, and then Johnny Cage, like, punches him in the nuts and kills him in, like, 3 seconds. Like, I wanted to see, like, I wanted, like, a big 10-minute dragged out fight. And, like, I don't know, maybe it's because they were, like, maybe animating Goro wasn't cheap, so they had to limit his screen. I don't know. But, like, I thought that fight sucked. Considering that was the fight I wanted to see the most, I thought that fight sucked.
I think it's actually the fact that it wasn't animated. It was a puppet, basically.
Okay.
You're trying to work it out that the puppet is going to go up and try and attack somebody, and
right.
It's actually funny there. The one thing that popped me now is the fact, like I said, I was doing some research before this. The screaming that he does, and that at the ending when Shao Kahn does his one line, the guy that does the voice for that was freaking Megatron from the cartoon series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they actually brought in Frank Welker to do that big roar for Goro.
Oh, wow. Now, like, when you first see Goro, when he comes down, because that's when that guy with the half metal face is, like, eating everything, and Goro, like, walks up to him.
Yeah, that's Kato. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought Goro looked so. I was like, especially keeping in mind, like, 1995. I was like, that looks pretty good. But then, like, I waited to see this fucking guy fight. And then Johnny Cage punched him in the nuts, called him an asshole, and threw him off a cliff. And I was like, oh.
Well,
like, what the fuck was that? He fought Scorpion for 10 minutes.
The story of Goro is the fact that he hasn't had to fight for, I believe it's 8 tournaments. He had to fight in the first one, and then he didn't have to fight until this one.
Right.
Because they were so dominant that he did not have to appear.
Right. I wanted to see it. I don't know. Not a big deal.
Well, you did get the one fight in, but unfortunately, because of the way you're dealing with it, it was from that first person point of view, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that freaking fatality they did for that one fight with Goro, like I'm staring at it, and people that know I do production work for wrestling videos and such, and I'm watching this, and the final blow that they do with Goro onto this guy, what's his name was, Art Lead. He hits him in the side of the shoulder and kills him.
I don't think I remember that.
It was that fight when you first get Goro before he fights Johnny Cage. They had that one fight with the one guy.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Inside the room when they couldn't afford to actually have real soldiers around the ring, so they had people in production jackets and everything pushing them back in. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Like, but whatever. Like, I'm not mad about it.
I will say this did seem to be like a very martial artsy, you know, that typical stereotypical martial arts movie, Jackie Chan thing. The one thing that really tipped me off about it is when Goro first comes out and they show him eliminating guys left, right, and center, throwing them all over the place.
Yeah.
Everybody in there, with exception, I think, 2, were all in gis. If you're talking about the world's best fighters, not all of them are going to be martial artists.
Yes, they are. I don't know.
There's going to be boxers. There's going to be wrestlers. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, really?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's like trying to draft a roster for the Montreal Canadiens or something. You know, you could get some better players, right?
You're not wrong.
Oh,
Fuck
sorry.
me. You're not wrong. But like, you're right,
sorry.
though. It is such a focus on the martial arts. Martial arts. I just invented a new kind of fight. You're right. Like, it is very
immortal arts.
Yeah, it is very focused on the martial arts. But I don't know though. Like, because I want to get back to some of the fucking acting. Because oh my god, I hated the acting. But I for the most part enjoyed the fights. You knew that at the end, it was gonna come down to Liu Kang and what's his name there, Shang, the dude that killed his brother. That was all, like, that was, you know, you all knew that was going to be the ending of it. I understand why Johnny Cage and Liu Kang and Sonya Blade didn't fight each other, because they were all representing Earth. But I don't know. I guess I kind of was hoping at some point to see the two of them fight, just because I thought it would have been cool, but it wasn't the end of the world to me. What was your favorite fight?
This is why I get spoiled with the fact that we get, like, if you ever played Mortal Kombat 9, which I know you didn't, you can still go on YouTube and just watch the cutscenes put together. And it makes a lot more fluid movie where these guys will actually face each other kind of thing.
Like, it would have been, like, because at the very beginning, or near the beginning, like, when they first get to that boat, and Johnny Cage has all his bags, and he asks Liu Kang he, like, gives Liu Kang money to carry him, and he just, like, throws his bag in the water. And Johnny doesn't even get mad. He's just like, oh, well, that wasn't very nice. And then, like, he's kind of hitting on Sonya Blade, and Sonya Blade's like, you're a fucking loser, get away from me. Like, at one point, I was like, oh, dude, at some point, 2 of these people are going to square off, right? And then they just never, and I get why. But I kind of just wanted to see them, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's just because they were 3 of the characters I recognized. Just like I wanted to see Scorpion fight Sub-Zero. But
you would like to see these guys fight each other because they are not a group, and that's what they were trying to say at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
that these guys are not a group. Like that was another one of my favorite comments when he threw the bags in when Liu Kang threw Johnny Cage's bags in the water.
Yeah.
Johnny Cage turns around and says, "Thank God I didn't let him park my car."
Yeah. It's so stupid.
That was one of my favorites too.
And then the part where the part where I realized what I was into with this movie is right after that, when Johnny Cage and Liu Kang get on this fucking mysterious ghost boat, and Sonya Blade is like sitting in the in the bushes or whatever with her partner, and then she's like, "Oh man, there they are!" It goes running toward the boat, and her partner's like, "No, don't stop." And then she just gets on this ghost boat from hell, and like, who just gets on this like? And all three of them were like, "It's no big thing that we're all on this boat," and the only one that really knew why they were there was Liu Kang. But the other two were just like, this is fine. That was when I realized, like, all right. And admittedly, at that point, I had not checked out, but I was like, this is going to be fucking terrible. But then, like you said, once the fighting starts, then it started to pick up a little bit. But I just, that part was the part where I was like, what the fuck is this? What a stupid movie.
One thing they didn't do well enough until the actual part of the movie, pulling out for Sonya Blade's character, Sonya Blade's partner was killed by Kano. So she's going to do absolutely anything possible to go after him.
And that's the guy with the half metal face.
Yeah, the guy with the half metal face is the guy that killed her. Because before those two fought, he talked about the knife that gutted his partner from ear to ear, right?
Right, yeah.
If they would have brought something up about that, just besides that he killed him earlier, it might have given a little more juxtaposition why he got on the boat. Reason Johnny got...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the reason Johnny got on the boat was simply just because he had a guy come up to him and say, "Hey, you want to prove that you're the best? Here's a tournament." And he's like, "I am so bored that I am going to go try this."
And I liked that, because he was sick of the media saying that he was full of shit. I actually thought that was cool.
So everybody did have their motivations to get on the boat. Some were a little more loose than others, but
yeah, it was just the idea that like this boat looks like it just came from the 9th fucking level of hell, and she's just like, "I'll get on it," and her partner doesn't even try to stop her. He's just like, she's not gonna listen. It's so stupid.
Maybe that's why he got recast in the next movie.
Yeah, because he didn't try harder to keep her off the boat. Oh, okay. So I have another thing I want to talk about, but I wanted to get back because I wanted to know, like, my favorite fight was Cage and Scorpion. What was your favorite fight?
I would have to say you're probably looking at the end fight with Shang Tsung and Liu Kang. I would have to go with.
Okay.
There's enough Easter eggs in there that will keep your nerd happy. Because little fact about it, after the fact, the characters that were brought out of the remember how the first fight that Kang had was to face his enemy, and they pulled these like 6 or 7 guys out of the ground as he resurrected these ancient warriors.
Yes, because he took their souls when he killed them or whatever, right?
Yeah, whenever somebody gets killed, he absorbs souls.
Yeah.
I'll get back to the reason that he does that here in a second, but those guys that were brought out, they actually used those models. In MK2, there was a throne background where they actually have them up as statues up against the wall. So,
oh, nice.
The game developers took the movie and actually moved some of this into canon a little bit more.
I thought that just the way they were fighting on the ledge above a bed of spikes, like that's Mortal Kombat too. Like that felt like Mortal Kombat.
Well, that was set homage to the pit level.
Yeah,
so
I recognize that.
That's always been in there, but it's always been a different direction. But here nor there, you got the spikes in the bottom. That's all anybody ever cares about.
It felt like they were like, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, because you all know how much I love Mario and how much I don't care about fighting games. But like, I thought this was a better movie than the Mario Brothers movie. And
oh yeah,
like I mean it, and I thought, to me, what it felt like the Mario Brothers movie, like everyone knows it was like fucking director's hell and they couldn't figure out what they were going to do with it. This really just felt like they were trying to walk a line between attempting to tell some semblance of a story, but just making it as many fights as like it felt like, and I'm not saying they went wrong either way, but like watching it, I really felt like they were trying their best to kind of please both sides. They're like, hey, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you're going to get these fights with these iconic characters. But if you're maybe the spouse of a Mortal Kombat fan or somebody that had to take a Mortal Kombat fan to the movies, we're trying to give you a semblance of a story for you to watch to keep you entertained. And I thought the story was okay, but I really did enjoy most of the fight scenes. Like, and that's what I watched it for. That's what I wanted to see were fights. And I was impressed. I thought they did a good job. I wanted to see Raiden. Is that how you say it? Raiden?
Raiden.
I wanted to see
Raiden.
him fight, but, you know.
Well, the biggest thing for me here is when it comes to public acknowledgement of this movie, more often than not, even up until you got to the point where you had Sonic, and this might be a hot take too, but I think I'm pretty confident of it. Until the Sonic movies came out, and even thoughts of this most recent rendition of Mortal Kombat, which I can get into another tirade about that later, but many people said, will this be a good video game movie since the last good one was Mortal Kombat?
Right.
Like many people considered that this was the last good video game movie for a good 20 years.
I mean, like the only video game movies. Now, keep in mind, before anyone gives me angry emails, I'm assuming we're not including like the Pokemon movies because they're not based on
no, I'm including the Pokemon movies.
Oh God, don't. All right, you guys can yell
at
at Mike the ref. Don't fucking yell at me, you goddamn Pokemon fans.
Bring it all the day.
But the only video game movies that I've seen are the Mario Brothers movie from the 90s, this, and the 2 Sonic movies, and that might be it. That I'm. And then I've seen like one Resident Evil movie.
Well, there was Resident Evil. There was Street Fighter.
Yeah,
you got to remember that one. There's Double Dragon that had one as well.
Right. I mean, there's Tomb Raiders. There's Uncharted. Like, there's quite a few of them. I just haven't seen any of them. But
there's many franchises that have come up, but it seems that none of them have been able to catch the essence of what their video game really is.
Yeah.
Since Mortal Kombat.
And I'd agree with that. Having not even knowing a lot about movies or Mortal Kombat, I was like, I when I was done watching it, I was like, yeah, that was a Mortal Kombat movie. I think Sonic is better, but I thought this was a good. I didn't hate it. I thought it was stupid, but in a good way. Like I would almost like to, you know how like there's classic like PS1 games that could just use a remake, like Resident Evil. They all got remade and the remakes are better. Like they got rid of some of the cheese. I'd almost like to see this movie, and I don't know if maybe that's what 2021 or whatever was, but I'd almost like to see it remade and just get rid of get people that can act and give me the same movie, and I'd love to see what it could do. And I don't care. I don't care if it's disrespectful. The people in this movie can't fucking act. I don't care. Shut up. They're terrible.
Everyone was anticipating that the 2021 movie would be somewhat of a remake of the 1995 movie. And when it turned into essentially an Elseworld story, like this is why video game movies for me right now are saved because of Marvel. Because Marvel introduced the Elseworlds, the DC as well. They introduced the different worlds that you can be part of, the different universes.
Right.
So the only reason the 2021 movie was actually decent for me is the fact that I could actually take my brain out and say, okay, well, this isn't this world. This is this world. So,
right. So and I don't want to get too into the new movie. We're talking about the 95 movie, but like,
yeah,
the new movie isn't about just one fighter though, right? Like it is about like the tournament, like Mortal Kombat, the tournament.
It more so is a character development movie for Scorpion than it is an actual.
Okay.
It's sort of a pre-tournament movie, and it introduces a new character. Like I said, we don't want to get in too much into it.
No, and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody on the new ones. Yeah.
It's sort of like how Street Fighter has a new character that they're trying to evolve in their evolution of video games right now. But I think that's about as far as we're going to go.
Okay.
Here
All right. Well, yeah, dude, I got to say, man, considering it's a movie about, like, let's be honest. And I know you're a Mortal Kombat fan. And I know Mortal Kombat, not the movie, but the games. And I know people are probably listening to this. I've always said, I have no qualm with fighting games outside of my inability to play them. I think they're great. I love watching high-level play. I just suck at them. But let's be honest, all right? The story in most fighting games is so secondary, it's insane. You just want to fight. Like, you just want to see these characters fight. That's right? Like there's a tournament.
I will say that with an exception.
What's that?
The NetherRealm games right now in the last 10 years.
The which
whether
games?
You're talking about whether you're talking about Injustice, whether you're talking about Mortal Kombat.
Oh, okay.
If you go through the story mode, like I'll be honest. While I'm sitting here talking to you about it, I actually have one of those video game movies on my TV right now playing, just, giving that Mortal Kombat feel to me here.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but they have put so much detail into those games. And speaking of these games, this movie is so beloved and so appreciated by the Mortal Kombat community. 4 characters have actually lended their voice to Mortal Kombat 11. They brought them back in as DLC for this latest edition before essentially Mortal Kombat's going to be reset.
Really? Who?
Shang Tsung was the big announcement that absolutely blew the crowd away here.
So the dude that played Shang Tsung in this movie is going to voice Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11.
He did, yes.
He did. That's fucking sick. That's awesome.
Kerry Tagawa did it, yeah.
That's awesome.
And you got Bridget Wilson for Sonya.
Okay.
She came in. The original in the video game was Ronda Rousey, but you can swap it out for her.
Okay.
You also had Lyndon Ashby, Johnny Cage.
Yes, that's my boy, even though he can't act.
And then there's also Christopher Lambert as Raiden.
That's awesome.
They were all added in as voice characters into the video game as DLC with the Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath.
That's so rad. Good for all you Mortal Kombat fans that you got this, like, what I wouldn't have given as a Mario fan for a Mario Brothers movie that was as embraced as this was by you guys. That's so awesome. That put such a smile on my face. What a great thing that you guys got. It's a fun movie. I don't want to say this is a good movie. It's a fun movie. That's so awesome that you guys have all just embraced it like you have. I was impressed. What a good, stupid movie.
Simply put, Adam, if you're willing to just turn your brain off and just enjoy it for what it is, this is a really fun movie to watch.
Yeah. For
fans and not fans alike. There are there's a couple things more in there I could bring up. I could be nitpicky. I could be that nerd in the front row at a Comic-Con talking about certain things in this movie, but all in all, they really didn't matter a whole lot.
No, it was just a fun movie. Like, even if I didn't know anything about Mortal Kombat, I think I could have watched it and been like, oh, it's cool to see the fights. Knowing some of the characters, though, and seeing them, especially, keeping in mind that this is 1995. Like, this was still a new thing. Like, video game movies weren't... Now, it feels like every week there's 2 more video game movies announced. This was 95. This was different. I loved it. I'll ask you... Is the sequel worth watching? without ruining anything for me, because I have not seen it.
All right. Well, it does carry on a little bit more into the second video game.
Okay.
Let's put it. One of the main characters gets killed within 5 minutes because of a contract dispute. I'll just throw it out there right now.
Wait, so they had a contract dispute behind the scenes, so they just killed the character off?
5 minutes in, yeah. and the other part I will preface this with, because this will be obvious for you. The person who played Liu Kang, I believe they're the one that absolutely said they did not want any part of this movie.
Of the sequel.
Yeah, it's not, that he wasn't even in it.
Why? What was wrong with the first one? It was fine.
No, it wasn't the first one that was the problem.
Oh, he just saw the script of the second one.
Bad.
I see. Okay. Well, now I almost want to watch the second one just to see. I thought this was fun, man.
My personal opinion of the second one, you really need to throw your brain into neutral and throw it out the door. And the most common phrase you're going to be using in that movie is, what the blank was that?
Well, when I start smoking pot again, I'll watch the sequel.
Basically, you might still be saying it.
Before we start wrapping this up, I wanted to quickly point out, too, the one thing I did know of this movie prior to watching it was I had a friend in elementary school that had the soundtrack to this movie and listened to it all the time. And watching it and actually hearing it, especially that title track and everything, Dude, the soundtrack to this movie is really like, at least that, I shouldn't say the whole soundtrack. I only really know that initial, like that title, like that Mortal Kombat, but I love that song.
Here's a funny fact for you. I know we can wrap up on all these lovely funny facts. That song, Techno Syndrome, has never made it into a single Mortal Kombat game.
Why?
It's been in the commercials. It's been in advertising. It's never been in a game.
How do you go out and get these actors and actresses to come back and provide their voices, but don't get the song? How? Dude, imagine if they... Wow, Jesus. What a miss. Imagine if... Because what Mortal Kombat's next? 12? Is that the next game? Mortal Kombat 12?
Yeah, it'll be 12. It'll be 12 if it comes out, yeah.
Imagine if you get a trailer at, say, the Game Awards this year for Mortal Kombat 12, and that song kicks off the trailer. People would lose their fucking minds. How do you not get off your wallet and pay for the song to do that? That'd be so sick.
Oh, they've been using the song at nauseam. They just never put it in the game.
Why? Why? What a missed opportunity.
Probably in the last game that they're ever going to create on this franchise, which is going to probably be a hell of a long time because of how much money it makes.
Oh, sure. Mortal Kombat's not going anywhere.
Well, like you should see how much the anticipation is for the Game Awards December 9th. Just hoping and praying that Mortal Kombat 12 shows up.
Yeah.
Because I have to hand it to NetherRealm. They're worse than Nintendo when it comes to secrets right now.
That's pretty tight, man, because Nintendo doesn't say a goddamn thing.
It almost makes you think that they have a raid in the basement, so if anybody leaks anything out, you're getting sent to the NetherRealm or something.
Well, all they've said, haven't they said, I mean, we'll wrap this up. I don't want to get too into like the games, but like, because they have said they're done with Mortal Kombat 11. I'm positive I saw that they said they're like, we're not adding anything else. It's done.
Mortal Kombat 11 is basically, the story's wrapped up since Aftermath.
Yeah.
And they actually told the story of Liu Kang actually being able to rewrite time.
Rewrite time?
So that they...
Oh, to save his brother?
He's able to, when it comes to Liu Kang, they beat somebody else, and they beat basically the holder of the hourglass of spirits of time and whatnot. 11 was a big time travel adventure story.
Oh, okay. See, that
past and present all come together and all that stuff. And basically, it was set up that they ended it where they said Liu Kang went back to the original Mortal Kombat like 900 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And started talking to the original Kung Lao, who's supposed to be the original champion of Mortal Kombat, and they left it there at that. So who knows if they're going to do or what they're going to do for Mortal Kombat 12.
Well, they better get the fucking song. I mean, I'm not going to play it anyway. It doesn't fucking matter. But they better have that fucking song. Anyways.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get you to play it.
Yeah, I would hold my breath on that. Oh, man, I just saw there's a novelization of this movie. I got to read this fucking novel now. Did we miss anything? Is there anything before we score this thing? Like, is there anything that you wanted to bring up that we didn't bring up? Like, I'm good. But...
This was, I'll have to say, this is a little bit, this is the early time of animatronics, so everything that was rather, I was actually unimpressed. I was actually impressed with a lot of the stuff, like the animal reptile. He was it was all psychedelic and round based, but that was all brand new animation stuff. They hadn't been doing a lot of that.
No,
so
yeah,
I am impressed with a lot of that stuff. So.
Me too, dude. The one part in particular when Johnny Cage is fighting Scorpion in like the woods or whatever, and Scorpion holds his hand up and that thing like crawls out of his hand. I was like, dude, for 1995, that looked really good. Like I have no beef with the special effects in this movie whatsoever. None. I wish they'd use some of the special effects to make the fucking actors good.
Yeah, well, that would be praying for miracles here.
Yeah, but no, I agree. Dude, I gotta say, like, we gotta score this. I like this. I like this movie a lot. There's 11 Mortal Kombat games, so mainline. So let's go with that. I was either that or 1995, and I don't want to score it in 1995. So
let's go 11. That works for me.
So if you're scoring the original Mortal Kombat out of 11, what are you going to score this movie, Mike?
With my heart in my hand on this, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5.
All right.
Because as much as people talk about the cheese of this movie, it does keep to the theme of Mortal Kombat rather well. It tells a good story, despite the lack of combat in the first third of it. It just loses some points on, well, basically a lot of the cheese that we were talking about, and then also how it does deviate a little bit in a few places here and there where there were better opportunities for growth than what they did in that movie.
Sure. All right.
What do you got?
If you had told me 2 weeks ago that I'd be giving it the score like this, I would have said no fucking. Honestly, like, I gotta give it at least a 9 out of 11. I loved it. I thought it was so cheesy that it was good. And I've said that about other video games. If you're gonna be cheesy, go so far into the cheese that you start to hook back around into good. And that's what it did. I don't have a single major complaint other than I wanted to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight. And I thought the Goro Johnny Cage fight was a letdown. But that's it. I loved it. I'll give it a 9. I'll watch it again at some point. I really like this movie. I thought I was going to hate it. I thought that's why everybody voted for it, because they thought I'd hate it. But no. I loved it.
No, I think a lot of people voted for this because it was one of those, you've got to actually watch this one time. It's one of those you got to watch one time in your life.
Yeah.
Just to understand where fighting game fans are coming from.
Yeah.
No, a lot of this. And
yeah, it was great.
Hopefully this convinces you enough to, one day we're going to get you on a controller somewhere.
No, you're not. The thing is I don't need to be good at these games to watch their movies. I just want to clarify. I want to go on that just quickly because I get asked a lot for fighting game episodes. And I just want anyone listening to this that loves fighting games to know I have no beef with your games. I'm so bad that like I don't even have fun because I'm so bad. And I don't think they're bad games. I'm just like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to review a lot of these because I'm never going to put enough time into them because I suck so hard at them. Like, it's like watching paint dry to me to play them because I'm so bad at it. But I respect it. I respect your genre. I like your genre. And I love your fucking movies because this movie was awesome. So
it's the one thing I like about fighting games is the fact that if you have a good story mode for it, it can translate so well to the silver screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was impressed. I'm definitely going to watch that sequel at some point. I don't know when, but I'm definitely going to watch that sequel. Mike, you're a busy guy, not unlike myself. What are you up to what are you up to all the time? And what are you up to in the next, I guess it'd be in the next like 48 hours by the time this episode goes live. What do you got going on?
I think as it's going live, it's pretty much as you guys are listening to this. But if you guys haven't heard, I am the head of Backbreaker Media, which covers both our wrestling channels, Backbreaker Video, and as well Backbreaker Gaming, where a bunch of us do a lot of Let's Plays and enjoy a lot of different games all over the place. But the day that we're recording it, or day we're releasing this, November 16th, I'm actually doing a 12-hour stream because I'm not as crazy as Adam to do 24 hours. In support of Jack.org for youth and young adult suicide prevention. So we're doing that over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Mike the Ref. You can also check out, like I said, Backbreaker Gaming on the YouTube. And yeah, everything else, I'll have a link tree in the comments or in the show notes for you. So, and if you want to donate, the charity will be up till the end of the year. If I get to $1,000, you get to see a fat man dance live on stream. I've offered to do a Just Dance 2020 stream if we get to $1,000.
I love it. Awesome. Yes, assuming that Mike, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we got to make Amaranth jealous somehow.
Assuming Mike remembers to send me his details between now and next Tuesday when I upload this episode. Like Mike said, look in the description of this podcast and you will find all those details. And Mike, buddy, goddamn, what a fun movie. I was so hesitant to do this episode because I don't watch movies and I don't play fighting games. I'm still not going to play fighting games and I'm still not going to watch a lot of movies, but I did like this movie about a fighting game. And thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me and talk about it, man. I appreciate it very much.
Always a pleasure, Adam. And we got to get some more of these video game movie reviews done with you here.
Definitely, yeah. They're so much easier than playing 20-hour games. So I promise all of you listening in 2023, won't be every week or anything, but there will be some more video game movie reviews in 2023, I promise. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Mike, thank you so much for giving me a call and talking Mortal Kombat. And to every single one of you nerds listening to this right now, whether this was your first Remember the Game or your 223rd, thank you so much for listening. And thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. If you're hearing this on the day it goes live, which is Wednesday, November 16th, head over to Mike the Ref on Twitch, Mike the Ref, and check out his stream. He's streaming for 12 hours in a row to raise some money for Jack.org, which is a great fucking cause. As he mentioned, you can find information in the description of this podcast if you are interested. And if you want to check out more of my crap, twitch.tv/rememberthegame. Whenever I feel like getting on there, hit me with a follow. It'll tell you whenever I'm online. And youtube.com/rememberthegame. I got Let's Plays and there's all kinds of crap over there. And again, if you want more of these, man, there's almost 300 of them. Actually, if you go to the $5 tier, there's well over 300. But either way, there is hundreds of bonus podcasts waiting for you for as little as $2 a month. And you're going to get 2 additional podcasts a week at patreon.com/rememberthegame. So get over there, check it out. Blah, 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 blah. You know how it all works for now, right? That's going to do it, everybody. I will be back tomorrow for all of our Patreons where I'm going to be reviewing Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Spoiler-free as always. Game Patch will go live on Friday. We're talking about all the biggest news in video games. And I'll be back a week from right now with Remember the Game number 224, which is going to be about a mystery game that people have been trying to guess forever that I just finished playing. It has been requested by people. It has been frequent on the Patreon polls. And I'll give you one hint. That's all you're getting. It's a PlayStation 2 game. All right? I'll see you next week for the mysterious episode. Take it easy, everybody. I'm going to thank some patrons and get out of here. Oh, yeah. Leave us a good review if you didn't hate this podcast. Would you please? All right. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/rememberthegame. And as such, I'm contractually obligated to thank them. So I'm going to rip through their names and thank them as quickly as humanly possible. A huge thank you to Makeshift Mallow, Magic Money, Joe Buck, Sharonic, Andre, Seymour Butts, James Clark, King Bahamut, Dave McGee, DNA Gaming, Slick Rick, Doug Dorn, Chris Fleury, Charlie Medeiros, Andrew Wright, Jordan, Fraser Burns, Little Bunny Fufu 89, Angry Ticks, Dave Thompson, No One Cares, Aaron Lawson, Nathan Tremblay, A-Town, Morgan, Zane Donovan, Ryan Kinchin, Mike Maloney, G9PSX, Mercury 869, Wolfgang Darren, Sam Wright, Andy Hudson, Doogie, Wolf Magic 21, Johnny CCDC, Joe LeBlanc, Squints, Titan 420, Zonko 504, Russell Aldridge, Jeff Bergeron, Captain N, OT Plays Games, Daniel, Tunable Power, John Woodruff, Randy Barrage, Just a Fish, TP Pooper, Denzalo, Holmes, Zach Shepard, Chris Dickin, Matthew D'Amico, Frosty Feet 492, Triple, Chugger 22, Elijah Burns, Stephen Parnell, Ray San Wantonga, DBXJ, Jameer Williams, Steve Dalk, Turd Ferguson, Mizuru, Nicholas Chaffee, David Marcus, Phil Lencher, Ruben Elizald, Eric James, Riley Turvey, Jake Carter, Laces Out Dan, C-Spin, Thomas Smith, Nicola, Much Makuchi, Leroy Westrich, Dark Squall, Jerry the 3D Printed Saustrich, Russell, last names I can't say, Evolva, Sean Ramos, DB Cooper, Stud Still Smash, Mojo the Helper Monkey, Brant Hewitt, Gabe, Dan Fusselman, Fuzzy99, Decoy Man, John Jameson, Riot the Surgeon Who's Not a Surgeon, Rowe, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Scary Terry, Bucky the Beagle Herder, Edridge FPV, Hagel Waffle, High Plains Drifter, Kayach, Jimothy, Joe Stone, Chris Williams, Oroku Saki's Gardner, Cody Richardson, General Fury, Dem Boys on the Roof, Current Remember the Game Hall of Famer Mark McHugh, James Juan Francesco, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Matt Hamilton, Nomad, Daniel DeVore, James Black, my computer froze for a second there. James Black, Drugs Ben, okay. Sam Carpenter, Nerdy Hybrid, Adam Fletcher, Colin Bollinger, Pinball Mage, Joey Mercury, Theored, Squeaknuts, Isaias, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Brian Neese, Christian Gabriel, Maverick Marty, Musty Beetle, Bud Lightyear, Beef Dingleberry, Michael Barjudina, Hitchy Poo, Arctic Fission, Romaldo Marquez, Bulma Simp, Mark But Not McHugh, Ben Molly, Ben Malloy, Trevor McKee. I'm getting lightheaded. That's not a Patreon. That's a sweet handle. Cam Nelly 23, Zamatos, Skillerooney, Angelo Leonardo, Lugnut, Scott Weiss, oh my god it froze, Bobby Litton, Brandon DeZeba, Roger Russell, Kia Pup, Knife Goes In, Guts Come Out, Works For Me, McGrathan, Heman Demon, James Sanabria, Derek Cox, Dakota Guy, Alexander Camps, Toad Spit, Ryan Perry, Alex R, It's the Bigfoot, Graham, Itchy Nutsuru, Mr. Papa Giorgio, John Drew, Solomon Soto, Darth Skywalter, Denton Van Zandt, Postman, West Jen, Nick Creature, Patrick Swayze, Adam Martinet, Black Widow, Naf E, The Big Deal, Dr. Nightmare 23, Tone Bone Swiss, Kevin Monroe, the Stone Shooter, and Shorzy. Thank you all so goddamn much for the support. I appreciate it. Talk to you on the next one. Purple Monkey Dishwasher. Get over here.